Turbulences and hidden pressure changes in the air can cause unpleasant shaking during flights, and now a recent study reveals a direct relationship between rising temperatures and a significant surge in turbulence across the Earth's troposphere, the region where aircraft operate. And unfortunately, present-day technology lacks the capability to detect or provide adequate warning for this heightened turbulence phenomenon. And joining us now to tell us everything about it is someone who is no stranger to the phenomenon at all, is El Al Airlines pilot Captain Itzhak Garber. Well, Itzhak, firstly, tell us some more about yourself, what aircraft you're flying, and your work in general.
Hello, thank you for having me. So I'm a pilot, I'm a captain for about 38 years, 30 years of them as a commercial pilot, which fly passengers from place to place all over the world. I'm flying currently the Boeing 777 and the Boeing 787, which is called the Dreamliner. Well, I heard about this phenomenon. I cannot argue with the statistics, but sometimes I think all passengers had some turbulence in their flights. Yes, that's correct.
Now, this heightened turbulence phenomenon, how dangerous is it really, if at all?
Well, that's a good question. We are dividing turbulence to three categories. One is minor, which is very low turbulence. We have medium turbulence and severe turbulence. Usually we encounter minor to medium turbulence, but also the severe turbulence are not that dangerous because the aircraft are built very strong. They can observe a lot of efforts of the turbulence, and there is no aircraft that flew out of the sky because of turbulence. It is really safe. It's unpleasant, but there is one thing that passengers should do in order to be safe, and that's comply with the flight attendants' instructions when this happens.
That's totally correct. Now, can it be prevented? I mean, how can you as pilots maybe prevent it or control it?
Well, we have maps, meteorological maps, which are significant maps that show us before the flight where should be the areas of these turbulence. We also have radar to try to track them. And we also hear from other pilots if they encounter turbulence. So they're say it on the VHF, on the radio, and we can participate, have some advantage on the turbulence. But if we encounter turbulence, there are still some things that we can do. We can lower the airspeed, sometimes increasing airspeed, sometimes changing levels. We cannot do it all the time because sometimes there is an aircraft above us, so we cannot climb or we are too heavy to climb. But most of the time we can change the situation a bit, improve it a bit, and that way or another, after a few minutes, it's demolished and we can go on with our flight.
Itzhak, and what does this phenomenon actually look like from your cockpit? I mean, how can it be foreseen, and what does it really look like in practice to you?
Well, usually we have those turbulence when we have clouds. When we have big clouds, we try to avoid them, but sometimes we fly in those clouds if it is allowed, and then we can feel this turbulence. Sometimes there are small lightning on the, let's say, on the windshield itself, but still it's not dangerous at all.
Well, that's interesting, and most importantly, many people are anxious flying. I mean, you surely know that firsthand. Is there a message you'd like to convey to our viewers, to passengers in general?
Yeah, I think that it is really safe to fly, even in turbulence. The only thing that is needed by the passengers is when you see this silver sign on, so fasten your seatbelt and stay in your seat. That will cover all possibilities of injuries. Sometimes you see this illumination of the seatbelt sign and you don't feel any turbulence. So you say, hey, where the turbulence are? They might come in 5 to 10 minutes. As we said, we hear it from other pilots, and we're trying to figure out where it is. So if you are seated with your seatbelt fastened, everything should be okay.
Well, I heard more than once that flying a plane is safer than driving a car. So, Captain Garber, thank you so much for joining us today and calming us down.
Thank you very much.